Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Awakening Summit. We are having so much fun here today. I'm sure you're learning a ton. And just by way of introduction, I am Kayleigh O'Keefe, CEO and founder of Soul Excellence Ventures, and I have the pleasure of having a wonderful conversation today with Hollis Citron. Hollis is the founder of I Am Creative. Welcome, Hollis.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Thank you.
So happy to connect with you. And before we go any further, just tell us where you're sitting right now. I see a lot of artistic, creative materials behind you. Where are you?
Oh my God. So I'm so excited about this. I am in our basement. So we recently got it renovated, which I'm very grateful for. And now I'm actually sitting in it without having the computer on our dining room table. So I actually have this whole setup with a lot of stuff over on the other side that you can't see. But yeah, organization is happening. So I'm excited.
Amazing. Well, I love it. We're going to have to do an inventory of like all the fun things that you must have in your basement. But I'm so excited to talk to you. Hollis is, as I mentioned, founder and CEO of I Am Creative and a lifelong art teacher. And the work that she does now is to help all of us express and create. And I will say, like, to just have a lot more fun in life and see what that brings out and inspires. So I'm so excited to dig into your work, but I just want to go back to the beginning and have you share with us, you taught for so many years. What was the moment that you really realized that creative expression was so essential to who we are as human beings?
Such a good question and such a deep question. I mean, I've been teaching for 30 years and I'm so grateful that I've had all of these scenarios where it's been general ed, special ed, public school, private schools, taught in shelters. I've had my own businesses and this one being the newest one, and just so many experiences. But I think the one that really, really stands out is when I was teaching in New York, and it was somewhere around 1997, 98, something that started with a 9. It was after 96. And I worked for this amazing organization called Studio on a School, and they sent artists in residence into schools. And I was in Brooklyn, and I went to a classroom that I think I was in for like a few months, and I went in once a week. And this one happened to be an inclusion class, which meant a special ed teacher and a general ed teacher. And what would happen is there was a certain kind of structure that it had where we would do a demonstration, the kids would have hands-on time, and then we would have a sharing time. So in this particular scenario, to keep the story short, is I did my demo, the kids were doing a hands-on project with collage, it came to the sharing time, and I'd call on 3 kids, and one kid who was a mute, he never spoke in class, actually raised his hand. And I should actually say that one of the teachers in this classroom was a screamer. And he was just constantly yelling at the kids, and they were in kindergarten. I didn't preface all that. So here I was, a newer teacher, standing in the middle of the room with this teacher. As this kid raised his hand, he's saying, "You want to talk? You never want to talk." Okay, fine, talk. So the little kindergartner's body language went completely in. And on my feet, I just kind of thought real quick, and I went over and grabbed his work and said, "Is there anybody that would like to tell him something that they like about his work?" And then anyway, we moved forward to cleanup, and I went over to him and I bent down and I said, "What did you want to say?" And he whispered in my ear, "I like the color blue." And it dawned on me at that point where it's like, everybody needs to have a voice. Everybody deserves to have a voice. And it still kind of brings tears to my eyes every time. It's just like, how could you deny this child this? Because this is where it all starts. It starts when we're kids. It starts when people say things to us that we then hold on to, and that's the cycle. So, yeah, to answer your question, he's like 20 some years old, and God willing, I still think about it, and I hope that he's been taken care of. I know he had a rough story, so I don't know. I just hope he found his way. I hope he had some guidance.
And that moment, though, I think it just connects so deeply to all of us, because I'm pretty sure all of us have had that moment where we were really proud of something that we created. We were really excited about the messy painting or the bad play that we wanted to put on for our family and siblings, and like have had that moment of shutdown and of like, that's not good, or like, that could be better, or like, that's ugly, and like it just feels like we carry that with us for a really long time.
You are so, you said it so perfectly, because I've done so many professional developments. I've been in so many settings where the first question I'll ask is, how many people have been told that they're not good at something? And you see the hands go up.
Yeah.
And then they carry it through, you carry it obviously to adulthood. And it doesn't have to be just within the visual arts. That's really my thing with my company.
Yeah.
I'm creative is about expanding the definition of what creativity is.
Let's go there right now. Like, what does creativity mean?
To me, everybody has their own definition, but to me, it's expression. It's exploration. It's permission, and it's expansion. And I think it's very important for people to acknowledge and recognize that in being these things, it doesn't fall within. My biggest pet peeve is the whole thing of it, like being an artist is being a creator, a creative person is drawing and painting. Because I don't do that. That's not my form of expression.
Yeah.
My form of expression, I went to art school, I worked with clay, I've been working with collage, I've been doing things like that. But at the same time, I'm also birthing a new company. Like, that's creative in all of the ideas and all the problem solving and all the expression and all the expansion and all of the everything that's going with this. Everybody has a voice. Whether you're a teacher, whether you're a scientist creating the new vaccines, whether you are a mathematician that knows how to work with numbers or an accountant, everything, whether you're a chef, whether you do makeup. Shout out to my daughter for actually putting makeup on my face and doing it in a decent.
Great job. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I think that people need to acknowledge that. And my passion is really in expanding that definition.
So you had that moment, back in the late 90s, you went on to teach so many different modalities, so many different types of people, started various companies. The latest iteration, I Am Creative, like what inspired you to move in this direction? And what's your overall mission with the company right now?
So I think to answer the first part, in teaching for so long, and I just left, I was teaching in Philadelphia for the last 5 years. I think I really got to a point of literally, once you cross over 50, you're more than halfway there. So I was just kind of like, I got to do this in a place where there's not so much resistance. I loved where I taught. I loved all the experiences that I've had, but I felt like I needed to take it to the next level on my own terms. And I wanted to reach more adults, which I have taught adults in the past, but I wanted to reach more adults to help unlock everything that we've been talking about. Because I think that adults get caught up in we get caught up in life and what we went to school for and what we got our degree in and what, we had kids or didn't have kids, or we bought the house, or we moved here, we moved there, and we have to pay for things. So life just happens. And then so often I think that we just get stuck. And I found myself doing that. I'd wake up every morning stressed out. I'd wake up like, okay, I got to go in and fight with the 8th grade about why we're doing art.
Yeah.
Even though I had an 8th grader who was then he was a 10th grader, but he was 8th grade when I taught him. He came up and he's like, "You're my favorite teacher." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You never would have known it." I'm like, "I never would have known it. Like, you were horrible to me."
Gosh, I think you're hitting on a few things. It's like, as we become adults, like we do get used to specializing, being good at what we do, and kind of narrowing the circle of things that we're willing to really try, because we're like, no, I'm good at this thing. I want to keep doing this thing, be rewarded for this thing. And so it starts to feel riskier to just play or experiment. And I do have to tell you that after our prep call last week, listen to this serendipity. My building sent an email out the next day saying that we're having a painting class in the building. And if we hadn't talked or had that conversation, like, I think I would have just deleted. And I was like, oh, this is a sign. Like, go have fun, just see what happens, you know? And it's like, even that excitement and nervousness of trying something new and being creative brings out a whole different side in us.
And thank you for saying that, because I think that's a really big point. Is there's this amazing kids book called Beautiful Oops, and we would have it as I had it within like the mantra that we would say every day entering the classroom. What happens if we make a mistake? Beautiful oops, try again, or do it in a different way. And I think that whole thing of being adults and getting into our thing, we don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to be seen as not being good at something, and because that takes us down on the peg of things. But we have to make mistakes, and it's that being vulnerable. It's the vulnerability of it all that I think when you allow it and when you open yourself up to it, that's when you get that flow, and that's when you start laughing, and that's when you start connecting, and because we get so serious.
Yep.
And I'm guilty of it too. It's not like I get stuck in it, and it's just kind of like you have to like, okay, I'm connecting to myself in whatever it's doing. I'm connecting with others. Like, I'm taking that me time to just, because when you get into that flow of something that you enjoy, even yesterday I was teaching this class, and it was called oil. It was a watercolor resist. So it's oil pastels and watercolors. And even as I was just, I mean, here we are talking about painting, but even as I was just like doing that thing in that moment, I was listening to music, and I could feel myself like getting into the flow, just kind of easing it down. Even if it's going for a walk, going for a hike, cooking something, being like, okay, I'm going to go make something that's going to taste really good, and I'm nurturing myself or I'm nurturing my family. That gets you put on the music, you dance around in the kitchen, you just, you know. I remember one time we were making something, and I was supposed to put in like a quarter cup of salt, and I think I put in like 2 cups of salt.
And was it a beautiful oops?
That was a beautiful oops. I was just like, oh man, okay, let's just laugh this off.
I'm just imagining like a really salty cookie that you're dousing in like extra milk, right? You're just dropping it in the milk and more like drinking it as it crumbles apart, you know? That could be fun.
That was like, but yeah, we just laughed about it, and, you know, we had enough ingredients to continue making what we were making, but yeah.
So, I think it's really important, right, to kind of open up our minds to what creativity means, to what expression looks like, how it can be, you know, look different for everyone. And we may have the things that we're naturally attracted to. Like for me, it's definitely writing. And then all the things that we get to like play with that augment our sense of creativity. And you talk about something called creative shui. And I want to ask you what this means, because I've certainly heard of feng shui. I can't say I'm a practitioner of it, but like, what is creative shui? How can it help us in our lives?
So I think creative shui is basically like feng shui are all of the compartments basically within a space, within a room. And when you have these areas that are they're connected to elements and all this kind of stuff, but when there are areas that are weaker or areas that are stronger, to be able to complete the energy of the space. So within a creative shui, there are different elements to it. There are 7 different elements. Some examples are connection, expansion, problem solving, permission. So there's these different elements where you can kind of see where you are on those scales of things within yourself, within your inner being. And when you kind of see where you are in that scale, then you can kind of be like, okay, well, I want to work in this area more of permission. I want to be giving myself more permission to be able to actually play, to be able to do these things that I want to do.
Yeah, permission's the one that I wrote down as you were saying from the list. That was like, ooh, that felt like the most, that's the one that I'm certainly looking to continue to allow myself, you know.
It's a big one. It's a big one. If you're low on connection, especially now. I mean, now in these times where, we're being quarantined and all these different kinds of things with the masks, with the, I'm a hugger, I'll hug a stranger if they gave me like, if we're in the store, and I'd just be like, thank you so much. It was so, and that connection was just really important. And now it being so looking different, people are seeking it.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly felt weird to, go into rooms or spaces and meeting new people or seeing old friends and just being like, hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yes, it's kind of connection, but yeah, like you, I like a good hug.
Yeah, I mean, the energy, it's just different. So that's kind of like, a simplified version of what it is. It's balancing and kind of seeing.
So as you kind of this next evolution of yourself and of I Am Creative, you've been working with families and individuals, like giving them that creative spark through the boxes that you put together, the classes that you teach. But I understand that you're starting to work more with entrepreneurs. And so I'd love to hear, what do they struggle with in particular, and how are you starting to help them through the work that you do and the expertise that you bring?
I think it's basically entrepreneurs are birthing something. We're in this creating process. We're building it. It's we take it from this concept, which is here, and then we bring it out to the outside in order to be able to offer to other people. And there's a lot of things that can happen in the middle. Worthiness. Am I good enough for this? Like, how do I do this? Da-da-da. So we get caught in our heads, and we often spend a lot of time doing this. So what my goal is to, like we've been talking about, get people to play more. Get people to be in that state of flow. And because when you, like the other day, I was starting to get stressed out about something. I was like, all this stuff is kind of like downloading into me really quickly. And I'm like, I have to walk away for a minute because I can't, it's amazing, but it's stressing me out right now. So I went upstairs, I laid on the bed, and I was petting one of our cats. And as I was kind of just laying there and in the moment, we were there for about a half hour. All of a sudden, like, things started kind of coming to me in a much clearer way. Because I wasn't so frenetic.
Yeah.
And then ideas on, like, of stuff that I want to do for me in my own work started coming to me. Where before it was like stuck, because I was stuck in that, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that. I have my list here, I have my list there. So I guess to answer your question, it's to help people get out of their heads so much, to have that permission to play, to allow the flow to happen in order for the birthing process to be easier.
As a fairly recent entrepreneur myself, and like coming from the corporate world, like it's so easy to go to head, to strategy, to like must be doing productive things. And
Yes.
so, like, break that perception and even like that word productive, like challenging it and making the shift into, I started like make the shift into like everything that we're doing can be a creative expression and an intentional one, and like how much cooler to be able to live in that way versus the like, it's a much tighter way when you're only focused on the mind.
Because it's so much about, it's like I feel the word like gripping. It's like you're gripping. It's like people are saying, well, how much are you going to produce? And what are you going to do that? And when are you going to do that? And we have to see the numbers, and we have to, and everything is like, I get it. It's valid. I'm not saying that doesn't exist or it shouldn't be. What I'm saying is that the way that we approach it and the way that we can connect ourselves, kind of plug ourselves in, it's like, are you going to choose to be frenetic and crazy and unhappy? Or are you going to choose to be calm and expressive and happy? I mean, it's like, what do you want? When you're doing things that you enjoy, you're happier. And when you're happier, then you connect to people easier. It's a very logical, to me, it's logical.
Let's kind of looking ahead. We're about to like wrap up 2020, wild year, go into winter for some people, or creative summer for our other friends in the other hemisphere. And looking at 2021, what are the types of services, offerings, things that you're looking forward to do and share with the group here?
So I have boxes that are, there's a whole bunch of things that I offer, but there are these boxes that I offer that are specific, and you can go to my store at iamcreativephilly.net, and you can see these boxes that have everything in it, like down to the tablecloth. Like you don't have to think about anything. You just have to put water in your containers if it requires that, and maybe a paper towel. But everything is in there. But then there are also different levels where I'm going to be offering coaching to be able to talk to people to make their own customized boxes. So there is not another box in the world. You cannot go to a store I mean, you could, but it might be 20 stores that you would have to go to. I actually do the work for you through talking to be able to see where your interests lie really. What is something that you would really like to do that would be so fun that you haven't done in a long time? And I create these boxes for you, which are then delivered to your door. So I'm really excited about that.
You're making me think so much of like just elementary school and going to Michael's and like getting the box, I remember making like the little beads and then you iron them.
I actually, now that you say that, I do have one box called Box of Play for Gen Xers. And yeah, it's actually, it's going to be like 10 things from 70s, 80s. And
that's amazing. I'm also thinking of like sand art, when you had the funnels, like, ooh, that was a good afternoon with friends. Well, tell us, what's your favorite box that you've created so far? And how have you seen that kind of help a person or entrepreneur just like shake things up a little bit? And what was their experience? Because like, I imagine you have like the fun creating it, but I know for me, like these little things start to shift everything else.
They do. There's so many boxes that, I mean, I'm really excited to get this one action. So to answer the question about one that I've done with people recently, which was a Smashing Mosaics box. Smashing Mosaics?
Mosaics, okay.
So they were actually given permission to like smash tiles and then arrange them onto a picture frame. So that was really fun because it was like, oh my God, I get to break something. So being in groups with people, having that permission. Once I put this kind of box and this workshop out there, I literally filled up the class within an hour. Wow. People said because they wanted to break things. That's really like, so yeah. So to answer that question, that kind of resonates with me. And also I'm really excited to put out there this box of play because I was kind of feeling people to see what they thought about 70s, 80s, like what comes up for you. And I got such a huge response and people were so excited, like jacks and pickup sticks and color forms and making the pot holders, the woven pot holders.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just that time to get people to chill out and connect and have fun.
Were puff paints on the list anywhere? Because to me, that's like an early 90s thing.
Nobody mentioned that. But yes, I totally resonate with that.
Like the iron-on the sweatshirt, and then like for Halloween, then like Right Boo and the puff paints, like that was a lot of fun. I mean, every time I talk to you, it brings up so many memories of this long-lost artistic childhood that I'm like, ooh, okay, I think it's a sign. Like there's something there to open.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, where can people find you if they're interested in learning more about what you do, how you can support them? Where can they find you? What's their next step?
Thank you. So it's I am Creative Philly, PHILLY.net. I'll put it into the thing when this is done.
Okay.
I'm creativephilly.net. So that has my contact information and everything that I offer is there. The section for entrepreneurs it's called Creators. And then I have a membership as well, which is a monthly thing where we get to kind of explore. It's everything that we've kind of talked about. Each month has a different theme, and it's just about fun and exploration and allowing yourself to just try these different things that might be out of your comfort zone or within your comfort zone. I have a podcast called Creative Conversations with Hollis, Citron. getting to talk to people about all these things.
I think you just passed over 1,000 downloads.
I did.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, I think I started it in April. So yeah, it's been really fun.
Wonderful. All right, we're almost at time. Everyone knows where to find you now. Philly is short for Philadelphia for all of our international visitors today, but we're coming up on the holiday season. So I just wanted to ask you, like, what's one of your favorite kind of artistic projects that relate to the holidays?
You know what? To answer that question, I have never been a big holiday per se person specifically. So to answer that question, I don't exactly have an answer, but I can say that cooking
There we go.
has been, like, to give you that kind of answer, cooking has been a thing. Like, we always made cookies for, so we're Jewish, but during Christmas, we'd always volunteer to shelter and then come home and then make cookies for our neighbors and watch A Christmas Story and It's a Wonderful Life and all of that. So I would say baking and making the cookies is a really happy reminder.
Amazing. Amazing. I like to decorate the tree for sure. But like one thing I'd like to do this year, so maybe I'll throw it out there, is like actually learn how to wrap a decent present. Would be nice to know finally. Like I've got one trick and that's it. So I'm certainly looking to expand that. So if there's a box or a class or a course, sign me up. I'm in for that one.
There we go. That is a great idea, actually. Okay.
You know, like that. People do amazing bows, and I'm just like, wow.
They do. You just made me think of something. So thank you for that.
You are welcome. Thank you so much for sharing your story and awakening, for coming on and teaching us and giving us all permission to let loose a little bit, be more creative. And, you know, for me, our conversations are that reminder of who we are, where we've come from, and just that reminder too of like the voices that we heard from everyone else. Like it's time to let those go. Just let ourselves shine. So.
Yep. I love that. It's all about you. And not in a selfish way. It's like, it's not a selfish thing. It's understanding that you're worthy and you deserve it.
Yeah. Love it.
So thank you. I really appreciate it. And I love what you're doing. So
thank you. Hollis, so great to have you here. Everyone joining us and on the replay, thank you for being a part of the Awakening Summit. Hollis will add her website in the comments. Definitely go check out the work that she's doing. And stay tuned for more amazing creators and entrepreneurs joining us this week at the Awakening Summit. Bye for now. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.